Yesterday morning it had been $21. Their cut comes the day after Bloomberg reported that the company was seeking a buyer and had retained Goldman Sachs. Credit Suisse said in a note that came out last night, quote, "We believe exploration of alternatives," the hiring of Goldman by XL, "is in part a response to a weak capital position, since raising money now would be very difficult." Credit Suisse has a neutral rating on the stock. XL stated on Wednesday night that it was being advised by Goldman on, quote, "value-enhancing opportunities available to it." Normally such news would be expected to spark a rise in a company's stock. However, the opposite happened. Yesterday, XL's share price plunged 33% and ended up down at $3.44, leaving the company with a market cap of $1.14 billion, which is way lower than it ever has been at its peak. Yesterday, President-elect Obama named the point person for the health reform plan. It's former Senate Majority Leader Tom Daschle. Daschle is going to be the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. Upon accepting at a news conference in Chicago, Mr. Daschle said that reforming the nation's health care system is our biggest domestic policy challenge. He said ultimately reforming the system through expanding coverage and bringing costs under control will not only benefit the uninsured, but also help make businesses more competitive. Daschle said that Obama's administration's approach to health care reform will be an open and inclusive process. Break for a word now from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news.
From prehistoric time to today, man's progress has been marked by his ability to fashion tools and use them to his advantage. From early humans making tools from stone, man evolved and was soon trading with other men. Money evolved, and tools such as the abacus to handle complex money transactions were developed. By the end of the 19th century, machines such as the cash register began to appear. 100 years later, we have even better computer-driven machines which track stock, change prices, and automatically reorder. Meanwhile, the reinsurance industry has failed to embrace man's drive for progress. The reinsurance industry today would be as familiar to practitioners from the 1800s as it is to modern underwriters. An underwriter or broker from 1800 would settle nicely into today's business. That is, until now. For the reinsurance industry, pivot point changes everything. Soon it will be understood that the period before pivot point was as dark as the caveman period was before the abacus. Come and see for yourself if you don't. After a demonstration, you will understand what is possible.
We'll now move to the casualty section of today's program, and we'll start again with Athens. Greek youths are hurling rocks and broken paving stones at riot police, who are in turn responding with volleys of tear gas right in the central part of the capital. The seventh straight day of unrest over the fatal police shooting of a teenager, today's clashes broke out near the capital's Syntagma Square, right downtown, right next to the Hotel Grand Britannia, right across the street from the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and right across the street from the Parliament Building. Streets leading to the city center have been cordoned off. Protesters also broke into the National Bank of Greece, sending staff fleeing in panic. One protester walked up to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and threw a black and red anarchist flag at the monument. The tomb is guarded 24 hours a day by soldiers. I don't know what action, if any, they took. This could be spreading in Bulgaria, in the capital of Sofia. More than 1,000 students demonstrated today, calling for stricter security in the Bulgarian capital student district. This after a 20-year-old died in a late-night beating earlier this week. A pharmaceutical student died on the 5th of December after being attacked by a gang of drunken youths. Friends and fellow students laid down flowers and lit candles at the site of the beating in a tribute. Following the student riots in Athens, there of course was a heavy police presence, but the Bulgarian students insisted that the rally was to be peaceful. The students plan to gather again in the central part of the capital tomorrow. 3 people died last night when a helicopter crashed in the Gulf of Mexico on its way to an oil rig. The U.S. Coast Guard is continuing a search for 2 others who were on board. The Coast Guard said that they were alerted after Rotorcraft Leasing Company, a helicopter company based in Broussard, Louisiana, reported that its pilot had not checked in as scheduled. A Coast Guard rescue helicopter found 3 bodies and debris about 2 miles off the Texas coast. The chopper was heading toward an unmanned oil platform 18 miles offshore, and it crashed in the Sabine Pass, which is about 90 miles east of Houston. There's been another coal mine explosion in Russia, this one up in Murmansk. An explosion and fire ripped through a mine in the Murmansk area, killing at least 9 workers earlier today. The mine belongs to OAO Apatit, A-P-A-T-I-T, a major company that produces the fertilizer component Apatit, or calcium phosphate. The company declined to comment on what happened with the blast. And this picture we'll bring up now. This is not Bangladesh or Southeast Asia or India after a monsoon. This is downtown Rome. Residents in some neighborhoods of Rome are on alert for a possible breach of the Tiber River as heavy rain continues to batter the city. The Civil Defense Department says the river might burst its banks in some neighborhoods today. There have been no evacuations so far, although this picture would seem to indicate otherwise. 1 person has been killed, a woman who was trapped inside her car, submerged in an underpass in Rome. Downpours in much of the center part of Italy have disrupted much traffic, but they've had one beneficial effect actually. They have forced labor unions to scale back a planned general strike today. I guess you couldn't get into work to strike because of the weather. More storms also further to the east. 2 people died in Greece amid thunderstorms and winds up to 65 miles per hour that confined ships to port. 2 people drowned Thursday when their car fell into the harbor of Poros on the Ionian island of Cephalonia. In a related incident, a Greek ferry inbound from Italy sustained a 6-foot dent in its hull when it lost control trying to dock in the city of Patras and hit a jetty. All 102 passengers disembarked safely. European Union leaders have agreed to a $260 billion stimulus package designed to dig the continent's troubled economies out of recession. The deal would see each EU member invest an average of about 1.5% of their GDPs into their economies in order to temper the impact of the global recession, was reached this morning at a 2-day summit in Brussels. Britain Prime Minister Gordon Brown said what Europe has proved unanimously today is that it's ready to act in a united way to deal with the global downturn. Ahead of the summit, Germany had expressed reservations about plowing so much public money into the economy and resisted pressure to contribute more than what it judged necessary to revive the German economy. Officials revised earlier versions of the bill to say the package should be worth, quote, about 1.5% of GDP rather than at least 1.5% of GDP. This apparently appeased Chancellor Merkel, who was shown earlier with President Sarkozy of France. The saga of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner continues. All Nippon Airways, who is also known as ANA, said this morning that it is considering seeking compensation from Boeing after the plane maker announced last night that it has another delay in the delivery of its Dreamliner jet. Despite the postponement, ANA, which is the lead customer for the new aircraft, is sticking to its current order plans for the new fuel-efficient plane. Boeing said that it's pushing back the schedule of the 787 Dreamliner programs by about 6 months as it unravels delays caused by recent machine union problems, i.e. a long strike, and the problems of improperly fastened fasteners on the first few planes. The delay puts the high-profile program about 2 years behind schedule, possibly forcing those waiting for the new plane to review their strategy on the retirement and introduction of existing planes. The latest move is extremely regrettable, according to